Hello, everybody, and welcome to TV Shows Revisited, a show that we do once a week where we revisit classic shows. And people are so excited they're applauding twice. Uh, in any case, this is the spiritual successor to Quantum Leap Revisited, but today we talk about other shows. And for the past number of weeks, we've been kind of revisiting Star Trek because there was this new Star Trek, and we wanted to sort of compare it to what Star Trek used to be and really celebrate classic Star Trek. So it's been some great shows that we've had here. We did the original series, a few episodes. We did the Next Generation pilot. We did Deep Space Nine pilot. And now we're in part 2 of the pilot of Voyager. We saw the first episode last time, and now we're watching the second part. Right?
Yep.
It's Caretaker part 2.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Yep. So
I'm not enough time.
What'd you say?
There's just not enough time, as the caretaker said.
Not enough time. Yeah. I hope I have this. Yeah, I have it here. I felt like I may have lost the episode, but now I found it. So let me share it. So we jump in. Oh, first of all, we have Nick here. Nick is the backyard TARDIS. He is, of course, a minister in his own local town, his local locksmith, and also I'm tired today, Nick. He's also the consultant to the sheriff and fire department in his town, and he raises goats on his own ranch. And then we have Script Doctor, who's a veteran screenwriter. He has his own Patreon where he teaches screenwriting, and he also has his own show that he hosts called Scripts on Saturdays. I'm actually going to be a guest on that show this Saturday. Make sure throughout the episode that you're subscribed to his channel so that you get notifications for that. How's it going, Script?
It's going pretty well. I'm a tad tired because it's been a long day, but I'm happy to spend those tired hours with you gentlemen. That'll give me a nice little adrenaline boost as we discuss the tail end of Caretaker.
Yeah,
for you, Script, do they do daylight savings for you?
Yes, we hate it up here also.
Okay.
So yeah, it feels like it's 11, but it's really 10.
Julie Evans says Nick.
I had to go see that movie.
Nick is the GOAT, and then Rhonda Nefero said he hasn't watched the Starfleet Academy final yet, but I'm sure it sucks up a storm. I'm going to be working on a review for that, but I saw it last night and I had so much to do today, so I'm going to have to work on it over the next few days. It's going to take a lot of suffering out of me, but thankfully it is the last episode that we're going to see of it for now. And some people are hoping that we'll never see it again, but I suspect that we'll still see the second batch of those episodes in some way, shape, or form. Even if they dump them all in one day, I think that we're still going to get those episodes. I don't think they're going to Batgirl them, but it is what it is.
There's that. Those episodes are still scheduled for release because this coming summer we'll have Strange New Worlds season 4. Then next year we'll have Academy season 2 and Strange New Worlds season 5. Currently on the docket with no signs of it being changed or altered at any time soon.
The only thing that's sort of a concern is that, like, Alex Kurtzman recently in an interview said, like, soon I'm going to be talking about my contract negotiation. I really hope that it's like he's a legend in his own mind, and by the time he goes to talk to them about his extension, they'll be like, sorry, buddy, you're out. That's what I'm really hoping. If they extend his contract, that spells doom for Paramount in general.
If they expend his contract, the only reason being is that he has enough name as a producer to associate with Star Trek compared to any of the competition that would not be able to garner, from the studio's perspective, interest, which is ironic because from the studio's perspective, you bring in any other production company to helm Star Trek, the fans will have way more interest in that because of the reputation that Kurtzman has established over the last decade.
I will have less respect for the Ellisons if they allow this. If they're like, this is our guy, I'm going to have an issue with that. You know what I mean? I can't say that I'm giving them sort of, you know how the 90 days of grace, what do you call that thing when somebody's in a new job and you give them like
probation?
What'd you say?
That's called probation.
No, but you give like 90 days of something. There's like a grace period. What
it's a 90-day work probation.
Okay.
And then, if you do something stupid, you then get put back on probation because it's all about the 90-day evaluation of, okay, you're coming in here, you're acclimating to a new environment. We're going to see how you respond to that over the course of 90 days. And once that's done, if you meet our standards, you are now brought in as part of the contract. We have the right to terminate you for whatever reason within those first 90 days as part of the probationary period. And then if you get cycled back onto that again later on in your career, it's an evaluation to determine whether or not you're sticking around or being let go.
Well, I've given Ellison the kind of, courtesy until now, but now like the real work starts. If he sits down with Kurtzman and he extends his contract, I will see that as a major issue. But I don't want to say anything. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, and I also see though, because there's a lot of effort when you're taking the reins, and there's so many moving parts, that I could also see if like they extend the contract, but it's only by like a year, or something small like that. Like they did some with some other ones that were like, oh, their contract's up, and then they would get an extension for 1 year. Would tell me that they're still not sure about him, but they've got too many moving cogs going on right now to disrupt that.
Well, my understanding is that Kurtzman contract technically ends in fall of 2027. But right now, there are no new productions of Star Trek currently underway. And he has a limit of having to provide 5 during the total of the airing season. So he can't do more than 5 shows airing at the same time. So right now, with nothing new being put into the schedule, I mean, that's a first. But I think that's being done deliberately because he's undergoing this new announcement of what is his future. Because if they decide to extend it, he will then launch his supposed Star Trek Year 1 series that he's been trying to get momentum behind, which nobody has expressed any support for. And
that would be such a bad idea. He'd be
also,
better off continuing Strange New Worlds than doing that.
Oh, ideally, but I don't want that either. Now, I know there's many people out there still hoping for Star Trek Legacy. I can tell you with 100% certainty that is never going to happen. Sorry, it's just not the case, not in the cards. Even current people that I know who just got involved at Paramount have looked into that and said, no, it's not going to happen. So, too bad.
Well, yes, somebody wrote that there's breaking news. They found 2 episodes of Doctor Who. And I just Googled it, and that is true.
That's fantastic.
That is pretty good.
I saw that right before we went live while I was waiting. This is the one day I was early and everybody else was late. But the master plan.
Is that the second Doctor episode?
First Doctor, I think.
That's still the first Doctor? I thought they had all the first Doctors.
No.
I like the first Doctor. I'll be happy to see it. I think it's this Film Foundation thing. I'll be honest, if it's the same ones that I think, they had either a video or they published an article or a video or something that they may have developments soon. And this was a really long time ago. And I said that I kind of thought that they were full of BS. But you know what? I am always willing to change my position on something. It sure took them a long time since they hinted that there have been developments until now. But you know what? Better late than never. And if they delivered it, then good for them. I'll give them the credit.
Yeah. One of the other problems, I think, is the BBC is not willing. Like there are collectors and stuff, but they have not made it enticing enough for people to want to turn over.
They're cheap. They're cheapos. They're basically cheapos. These people, some of them say, hey, BBC, you could pay me some money and maybe I'll give you the episode. They're like, nope, we'll never pay. And it's like, okay. And then they never get the episode. But back to, sorry I left Kate Mulgrew on such a strange face.
No, I mean, that's the perfect allegory for this episode.
So this is the part, I think, that sort of ended abruptly last episode where Neelix is trying to...
He's been introduced, yes.
Introduced, and now he arrives. And then now they're here in this...
yeah.
Ompaka, what are their names?
So it's the Ocampa is a species. Alana Torres and Harry Kim.
I called him Ompaka. I was close enough. Ocampa is his thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this was essentially their first the writers' inclining of trying to set up that B'Elanna and Harry Kim would be an item.
I see.
Yeah, because they're supposed to be apparently the same age. At least that was the initial intention. Then later on in the series, they ended up aging up B'Elanna Torres by like I think 5 years.
I see. Still doesn't mean she can't be with him if she's 5 years older, but
No, it's just that they wanted to make it a bit more age appropriate. Where in this case, they're trying to make them contemporaries, right? So B'Elanna was kicked out of the academy and joined the Maquis as an engineer, and apparently she was kicked out relatively around the same time Harry Kim was like a year into the academy as well. Like they should have been contemporaries, but they just weren't. They didn't
remind me
meet each other.
what happens in this scene.
They're it's an exposition dump. We find out that the Ocampa live underground. Their energy is supplied to them by the caretaker, and then they go to these food processors that give them all the protein nutrients that they need to sustain themselves. And it doesn't taste like much, but that's their life, and they're very content like that.
I see. Okay, and then the next scene here.
Well, the next scene they find out that, they've had other visitors that were, sent to them by the caretaker, and those visitors don't live very long. Is what they're learning here, is that they find out that, yeah, you come here to spend out your final days and we'll take care of you until you are, no more. Pretty dark stuff.
True. And then so Neelix already feels at home.
Neelix is having a blast here. He's experiencing an abundance of water that he has never experienced before. Makes a joke about seeing if he could get himself his Starfleet uniform, to which Tuvok tells him no. And then we see what I can only suspect is Talaxian fashion on him. A lot of pastel colors.
Here they trick these people with the water. They know these guys need water, and they want them to. Is this where they find like Cass or whatever? I'm trying to.
Yeah, so this ends up being a ruse by Neelix in order to rescue Cass, who's this 2-year-old Ocampan, and
who he's in love with, oddly.
Well, he's in love again. She's 20. She's more than 20% her full age or full life expectancy, which is not really too out of the question. That's the same average as she's equivalent to like a 22-year-old in human years.
He still looks kind of old compared to her, but sure.
Oh no, yeah, he is. As a Talaxian, yeah, he's
more like
old.
a sugar daddy.
A sugar daddy with no sugar, yeah.
So why would she even want to be with him? But never mind. Let's
we
not
never
focus
find
on
out actually, because there's nothing about Neelix that is endearing or attractive or tolerable. But here we are introduced to the Kazon, which are Klingon-ish knockoff, so to speak. Tamu Klingons, you can call them. They have massive warships, but they have difficulty finding water, and so they still occupy.
Did Nick disappear?
Planet.
Did something happen to Nick?
Yeah, I think he lost his connection.
Oh, okay. It's just me and you script.
This is me. Yeah, it's okay. Me and you for a bit. Nick will be back, I'm certain. But yeah, so we're introduced to the Kazon. They're not really a warrior race, but they've got forehead ridges and a bunch of junk in their hair for reasons. Massive warships that are pretty powerful, that they can go toe to toe to Voyager, but they don't have the technology to replicate water. And for some reason, even though they're a spacefaring race, they decide to camp out on a planet with a very intolerable atmosphere with no real resources to it, that at least we really know of. I don't really understand why they're here. Can't remember if there's an allusion to them mining anything, but at the same time, I'm like, we don't really get that kind of confirmed. Oh, there he is.
Hey,
you're back.
Hey, what's up, Nick?
I sound okay?
Yep.
Okay.
Can you hear us?
Yes.
Awesome. All right. Do you remember why the Kazon were on the Ocampa's homeworld? Were they there for any other reason than?
Yes. So there is a rare mineral used for some type of metal plating or whatever that they're mining there.
Okay, so there was a mining thing. Yeah, because it just felt like kind of weird. I was drawing the comparison how their technology is so, it's not Federation level, but they have these massive ships Like they're big, but
They're big, but that kind of shows that they're actually more limited in technology because they need that bigger size, not for firepower or anything like that, but maybe just to sustain them.
well, they don't have replicator technology either, so it's a very difficult society. But their ships are at least big enough to the point where they do overwhelm Voyager later on. But it always finds odd that they come here to mine this mineral. They don't really bring much of any supplies to sustain themselves while they mine this mineral. I mean, if they're a spacefaring race, there's definitely other planets that they could go and get water from and transport or carry from place to place. And they don't do that, which is weird.
Yeah. When I talk about the first couple of seasons not being good, the Kazon are a big part of that. They were not a well thought out enemy because at first they can't travel anywhere near as fast as Voyager. They established that, except that they're constantly attacking Voyager. So how are they catching up?
Yes, I know.
They can't go like past warp 5 or something. It's established in one of the episodes that they can't, like, Voyager can run circles around them. And that their firepower, like in this, they do some significant amount of damage to Voyager. But in later, like, part of the thing is they want to capture Voyager because Voyager is so much powerful than them, and so they think if we just eventually overwhelm them and take that, then whoever gets control of that will be able to rule the sector.
Right. The other part that's lacking with the Kazon is they don't really have a definitive culture.
Yeah.
They're just scavengers of sorts. Like, and they have different clans or sects or what have you that they're trying to make allegorical to the Klingons, but they'd never really think it out much. Which
thinking of the timing of this, though, I really think that they are kind of if they were drawing a comparison, it would be the stuff in the Middle East.
Maybe
wandering clans of people who claim power and try to throw their weight around, but by comparison are not. It really kind of feels
unrefined.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this scene here is Janeway trying to find their people, saying, like, is there a way to get onto the underground to find the Ocampa? And if you can do this, we'll provide you with all the water you want. And they beam down a couple of tanks. And this is where Neelix kind of and this is where I guess they get technically taken captured. Weapons are kind of taken away to a degree.
Yeah, well, Neelix didn't even tell them that they were going to go see Kazon. She thought they were going to go see the Ocampa people. So she's like, what are Kazon? But like they're taking kind of surprise. They really had no idea what kind of situation they were walking into. They thought they were meeting peaceful people.
Yeah, and ends up getting captured temporarily. Then Neelix, I guess, draws a phaser and punctures a couple of the tanks, allowing the Voyager crew to kind of get away. And of course, upsetting Janeway because this was not what she agreed to. And then, of course, Cass saves Neelix's skin by telling them that, she can help them find ways to get to the Ocampa City and find their crewmates.
Yeah. I mean, really just the whole, I really like the thing with the caretaker and all that, but the whole introducing the Ocampa and stuff like that, it's a really weird kind of culture and concept and idea to start the show out and introduce this character,
Yeah, and honestly, I don't think I ever really liked this character to begin with. There's issues. I have to be honest. I know some people like Voyager. For me, prior to like the Kurtzman era, when I thought of starts with Trek that I didn't love, Voyager, like maybe because I tried to watch it late in the game, I didn't really connect with it. It's still much better than anything Kurtzman related, but it doesn't feel as strong to me. Like we watched the pilot for what's his face for Deep Space Nine, That felt like a pilot. And The Next Generation, even though that pilot had some issues, there were enough things about it that it kind of impressed me, even if it was like hastily put together, whatever you want to call it. And the original series, even if it's the on-air pilot or the other pilot, whatever, the cage or not the cage, I liked all that stuff. And this episode, this thing with these people and this character, I don't know.
So I mean, like for me, like with Deep Space Nine, I liked the pilot, but I didn't really warm up to Cisco till season 4. There was nothing wrong with it, nothing, but it just. Whereas I fell in love with Janeway right from this first episode.
I'm not sure how. Like, I like Cisco 100 times better than Janeway. I think Kate Mulgrew is a good actress. She's perfectly serviceable enough. There's nothing wrong with her. But man, Cisco, like after an episode, I already like Cisco. Like this.
Cisco was defined, and he
maintained
I didn't like
definition. I did not like. It took a long time. I did not. I did not like his behavior and the way he acted in the first couple of seasons. It just was not for me. I did not click with him. And I had trouble initially clicking with the show because I'd only get to watch like an episode like once every 3 weeks. So originally I didn't get to see it in order until years later. But so I always had a hard time with that. Whereas with this, I click with not all of the crew, but a lot of this crew I click with better. And I've mentioned, I know you guys disagree, but Janeway is my favorite captain. It goes like Janeway, then Kirk, then Picard.
I think
so. You just have like a desire for punishment because Janeway's so inconsistent.
You're the only person, Nick, that ever had that ranking ever.
I can guarantee you I'm not.
Janeway,
I can guarantee you I'm not.
There's never in the history of Star Trek has there been somebody that had that ranking.
I see. You say that. I'm watching. There's a pair of wrestlers that have been doing rewatches, and they started with TOS through the animes that they're doing it, and they just got to Voyager. They were doing it all in order, and they immediately picked up and liked Janeway. But they also were like me, had trouble with Cisco. So
I don't know.
And we had trouble with Picard too. Picard was another one that I did. It took me a while to get into Picard.
I don't know what
Kirk,
to tell
Kirk
you.
I liked immediately.
I feel like, for me, Janeway is at the bottom of the list. And trust me, I like Archer. Now
see, Archer for me was a big disappointment. We'll talk about that next week.
We'll get there because I feel some lackings with Archer as well, even though I absolutely love the cast of Enterprise.
Yeah, I love the cast of Enterprise, but I
like Archer way better than Janeway. Janeway is like
Archer's more consistent than again Janeway. She flip flops from episode to episode throughout the entire 7 seasons. She just does it's not the same character. It's the same face, same voice.
This is going to get me. I'm going to pull a price here.
Okay.
And I'm going to apologize in advance, and I know I'm going to upset maybe some of our listeners, but I feel like that is like her being female and going from a place of emotion and doing that, like that feels to me real, that she handles and observes and presents herself differently depending on the situation, and she isn't all business all the time. I don't know, she feels like an actual human being to me, because she isn't just you can't just predict exactly what she's going to do all the time, because people are not that way.
There's a difference between erratic behavior and predictability. And we're not asking for predictability. We're asking for familiarity. And
she is the bottom of the barrel.
I know who Janeway is. I feel like I understand her character, and her character isn't in conflict with itself. So
I never said it was in conflict with herself.
Bottom of the barrel. That's what
inconsistent with herself.
Ron Donofero has a super chat for $2, and he writes, "Nick, you're entitled to your wrong opinion." And first of all, thank you for the super chat. Ron Donofero was a friend of the channel. Thank you. And I agree with Ron Donofero. Listen, Nick is a guy that I've known from always. He always has kind of takes that are different than what I would have. And I've accepted that a lot of times there'll be a franchise or anything, and I'll like something and he'll like the exact opposite, or vice versa. This has happened to me many times with him, so nothing surprises me. Like, I actually expected him to say that he likes Janeway the best, and I'm not shocked by it. But personally, for me, it's the opposite. Like, Kirk has to be the GOAT because he's Captain Kirk. I think I would have to give him that. And then it's really tough for me because I really like Cisco, but there's something I like about Picard too. Those two are neck and neck for me. Then Archer, which, like, I would have really liked him in first place if those other three weren't so amazing. I really like Archer. It's just that he's just a little not as good as those other three. What can I do? Even though I really like him, but below all of them, significantly, that is Janeway for sure.
Yeah. See, I to me, Janeway and Kirk feel the most alike.
Janeway and Kirk feel the most alike.
Professor R2 says that who's Nick's
Picard
favorite
is
doctor?
nothing like Kirk.
Professor
And Cisco
R2.
Picard
is
is
nothing like
literally
Kirk.
written as Kirk would be when Kirk reaches that age, and we get to see a lot of examples of that version of Kirk in the movies themselves. There's very strong parallels where they're a bit more reserved and they're a little bit less gung-ho, but they still have that whole, like, if risk is part of the game, we're going to make that little effort. Like, that's what it is. I mean, that was the intention. They got Picard to, take a step back when it comes to his understanding of children and family as the series progressed, because they realized that coldness was a little bit too abrasive against the audience. They were not too receptive by the fact that you had a man like Jean-Luc Picard, who had a lot of great positive traits as a leadership, but just had what appeared to be a distaste or an uncomfortability around children. And so they worked really hard over the course of that series to kind of balance that out and give an extra level of depth to Picard to, appreciate being around children and respecting
who's
them.
Nick's favorite doctor? Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was waiting for Script to finish to answer that question.
I'm sorry, Script. I didn't mean to cut you off. Please
that's
finish.
okay.
Finish what you were going to say.
Favorite doctor is 12th. Second favorite is the second doctor. Then I go first, 11, and then 8.
Who's your
You don't
favorite
like Tom
again?
Baker?
I like Tom Baker, but he's not in my top 5. He'd be my number 6.
Who's your favorite doctor? Who's your favorite?
Peter Capaldi. My second
I'm-
favorite,
Who's your second favorite?
that's the second doctor.
Patrick Troughton?
Yeah, Patrick Troughton.
And who was the third one?
Third one is the first doctor.
Fourth one?
That is the 11th doctor,
That's
Matt Smith.
I mean, I don't know. For
And
me,
then
like
fifth is Paul McGann.
Tom Baker has to be like, I don't know how it feels like he's not even on your list.
Well, I mean, Tom
He's-
Baker has the most interesting stories, but Peter Capaldi is probably one of the amazing actor for it, but he was really shafted with some pretty horrible
Terrible
episodes.
terrible writing. He was a really Peter Capaldi is one of the best actors to ever play him, but the screenplays that he was given were some of the worst. But go on.
Yeah,
his
but
introductory
also
screenplay
that
was
could be
horrible.
said of Tom Baker. Tom Baker's
Tom
last
Baker
season
was
was
the GOAT,
really
yo.
bad.
Yeah,
I know.
yeah. What didn't really have the jive of the earlier years, that's for sure.
Yeah. When you get to Romana 2, it's
Tom Baker.
There's
is
a
the
good
man.
argument for that. Yes, I agree. There's a good argument.
but
Tom
you know,
Baker is
I
number
love
one.
Tom
There's
Baker.
nothing better than Tom Baker. But go on. Sorry.
I love Tom Baker, and a lot of people who are really into New Who would put David Tennant there, and David Tennant's not on my top 5 either.
No, David Tennant. I
just
used to like
because
him
they're-
more.
He's not top 5.
David Tennant, actually, his stock has dropped with me over the years because he's annoying, and he also participated in the whatever.
But all that aside, I'm saying even before all the new stuff came out, he
For
wasn't
me,
in my
the new
top
stuff
5.
ruined it. I don't know the new stuff that he did. That he said that he was into Isaac Newton and he thought he was hot. I thought that was weird.
I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that.
It's good for you that you didn't watch. It's terrible stuff. In any case, I don't know how we got to that. Because that was a question in the chat. In any case, Professor Ardu says I've successfully diverted the stream. They're not talking about this Janeway anymore. Anyhow, Janeway for me is a bore. I think she's a good actress. I've seen her in other stuff that I've liked her, but she bores me. There's nothing about her. I'm going to say something controversial. Maybe I shouldn't say it. I don't know if I should or if I shouldn't.
Nick just did that.
One, she's not like I don't know how to. I can't say this in a way that I can. How do I get away with this?
You don't find her pretty?
She's not. I mean, she's not horrendous or anything, but she's not like super hot. And at the same
So
time,
I think.
I also think
don't
that her
agree with
acting,
that. I
like,
think
it's
Kate
good, but like they
Mulgrew is
don't write her
attractive.
character that it's interesting enough. So you'd say, well, if the writing isn't so interesting, at least maybe she's like super hot. But she's not that. The writing isn't that good. She is a good character actress. I've seen her in other stuff, and I think that Catherine Mulgrew is legitimately a good character actress. But it's like what Script was saying,
and I would differ with you
no
on that.
stability.
Like, I mean, obviously there are some, but like, for me, she is closer to my type than, say, Deanna Troi or Kira or like, yeah. But that is not what I judge her on
at all. I think Kate Mulgrew is quite pretty in this. The only thing that
Yeah.
they again, one of the things that they had difficulty with was her hair for like the first few seasons, and then when they got her into the bob, everything kind of just went normal.
I'm not suggesting that she looks bad. I'm just saying, like, I don't think she's super hot. Her character isn't very well written, and then I'm kind of left with I'm kind of stuck in limbo here. You know what I mean?
I mean, well, that's one of the things that plagued a lot of the writers on this show. They could not figure out Janeway. The other part that's also kind of funny is they if it wasn't for Beltran pushing back to the writers and producers, they would have had him in full like first native regalia all the time, because they would be coming up and making up these weird things from that culture to try and get him to do it. And he was just like, no, that's inauthentic. It's not right. It's horrible. It's offensive. It's rude.
Now, Ron Donofrio has something very important to say. He believes that Kira is way hotter than Janeway. And, I've given this some thought, Ron, and I can't argue with what you're saying. I think that you're making a good argument here.
I have to hardly disagree, but I don't try to judge characters on their looks, but no,
I think that Jadzia Dax is probably like, better than all of them.
I like Jadzia better, but I mean, Kira is a no for me. But I mean, that's just my
visitor without the nose prosthetic. She actually has a really pretty face underneath that, and it's a mild nose prosthetic. So
I even thought that she looked kind of good even with a weird nose prosthetic. You could tell she was a pretty woman. I feel like Deep Space Nine really, really, like, it was such a good balance of like good actors, but also like, it had that kind of appeal. I don't know. Deep Space Nine really got a lot of things right, in my opinion. But it's okay, Nick. If this is your favorite captain, I can't say anything. Back to the episode. What's happening here? They're tricking these guys. She brought the water, but then she shoots the water.
She doesn't know that that either party's being tricked. This is all Neelix's scam. And they end up, puncturing the tanks and returning back to Voyager with Kes.
And this is when we find out that like the Ocampa only live a few years, because he brings that up, that they're worthless slaves.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and then
they find another Ocampa that says there's a way to the surface and there's another group and we can help you get there, type of thing.
Okay.
And they're asking for shovels.
There's a lot of very empty scenes in this pilot.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. So now she's here. Is it already is she already his girlfriend here, or is this?
Oh yeah, somehow they were an item beforehand, and somehow they got separated. And he, I guess, from like bartering water from the Kazon, and now he's trying to kind of square things up, so to speak, but not really. Kazon are still upset with him.
And now she's using her, her status as an Ocampa to go talk to them, right?
Well, she's somebody who left, so she's basically, new way thinker. this whole civilization has developed so dependent upon the caretaker that they view him as a god. And so going to the surface is against the god's wishes. So she has kind of irritated. He's kind of somebody who doesn't want these people here. He doesn't want her helping them at the same time. And he definitely doesn't want the people who were sent there by the caretaker removed, because that is the caretaker's will.
Yeah, and there's nothing he can actually physically do to stop them. So it was completely pointless and irrelevant argument.
Yeah, some people are saying in the comments that if Janeway was too hot, it wouldn't be good for her as the captain. Whatever, it's all possible. I don't know what to say. I
don't think her purpose is. I mean, I don't think Picard was a looker.
No, he wasn't. But I'll tell you this: at least Picard, I think that he was more well written. That's the problem. It's that like you have to do one out of a few things, and this isn't just exclusive for ladies. Either you have like a well-written character, or sometimes if you can't pull that off, at least have a very appealing actress or actor. But in this case, I feel like, the actress was decent looking and she's a good, character actor, but it really needed to be better writing for the captain, in my opinion. But it's okay.
Well, I see, and that's where I feel like I don't feel like Picard got good writing the first couple years.
I don't know. I think
his character was real stiff. He was rude to a lot of the crew members.
Won me over.
Well, yeah, he had a certain distance from the crew, and it would only break in certain points. Like in the second season, they actually opened him up a little bit, especially like during the episode where Riker gets promotion to the Ares and he has to reconcile with his dad. Picard has this great speech about how excited he is for Riker with his new first officer that knows 40 languages. You then have another episode where he's at odds with Catherine Pulaski, and then she gets that virus from the Darwin Institute that ages her rapidly, and he ends up like basically saying like, my team is going to do anything in their power to try and save her, and then he ends up saving her, and first thing he does is he hugs her.
So that just reminded me, because I missed that episode. Other controversial take: Pulaski was better.
Oh no, I think Pulaski was a great doctor. Yeah,
because
great
the problem with Picard and Crusher is that it felt very much like when Crusher would have to, push her position as a doctor, it didn't feel like she was winning an argument with Picard and really filling her role. It felt more like Picard was giving a yes, dear.
Yeah. They had, there's a dynamic there that the writers never really properly explored, and the other part too is they had so much little to give Gates McFadden compared to Dr. Pulaski. Like Pulaski was essentially like, let's just do a type of someone who'd be in the same type of perspective in class that McCoy would be, but let's give her something else going on with that, a little bit more depth. The fact that she wears her heart on her sleeve, the fact that she initially resists Data but ends up becoming like a great friend to him and to Worf. Like he's not averse to other cultures the same way McCoy was when it came to Vulcan. She was more of an embracing of those cultures. But the other part too, she was one of the highest ranking doctors on the show for a while. Equal rank to Riker, but just not in position of authority. She knew the regulations really well. And every time that she had a point to argue, she knew how to reinforce it, especially against Picard, to the point where like he really respected how she made those arguments, even though it frustrated him all the time. Such a cool dynamic. I do miss her, but I was glad we got at least one season out of her.
There's a very important development that I want to highlight here, where George's Elrec says Beverly was way hotter though, and I've given this some thought, and I have to say that after carefully considering this comment here, I have to agree with
A woman 20 years younger than Pulaski is going to be more attractive than her.
But I will give you guys credit on one thing. I didn't hate Pulaski. I didn't think she was terrible. It's sort of unfortunate for the actress because they brought her to replace, Beverly, but then Gates McFadden came back. She did nothing wrong. Pulaski, no, I think that, the actress did a fine job, and I didn't have anything against her.
So Diana Muldaur was asked to come in to replace Gates McFadden, and Diana Muldaur said, I don't want to be part of the main cast because you should be bringing her back. It's like she's part of the show. You should be bringing her back. And there's already discussions at the start of season 2 that, the producer that asked Gates McFadden not to return was most likely being ejected out of the series. And Diana Muldaur said, all I want is just a special guest star. And if things don't go the way to bring her back, then I'll join the series full time. But I still want to have the freedom to do our other things. And fortunately, when season 3 got the brand new writers room and everything, they brought back Gates McFadden, and Diana Muldaur was more than happy to let her resume her role. And she went off to do a whole bunch of other shows and things for her career.
I think it would have been nice if there was an episode with both of them. I like that better when they do that. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. The thing that I didn't like is I feel like she disappears abruptly, and I don't usually like that. But aside from that, I don't have any issue. I felt Beverly, even if Beverly won arguments because Picard thought she was hot, at least it showed that Picard was a human being. You know what I mean? He may have the ship and everything, but at the end of the day, with all of his bravado and confidence and cool and composed, whatever, he's still was some dude, and he liked it when there was a lady that he was into. I can relate to that captain. You know what I mean? I can relate. You want a captain that's relatable, and he's so hard to relate to. But then when you see that he likes the ladies, you're like, okay, well, I kind of can relate to that. I probably should stop talking.
Yeah,
Script's like, what is this man talking about?
He's off on his own course. Let him go.
I was gonna say, I've never thought of Picard as a ladies' man. Like anytime they've tried to introduce that, it's felt very, very awkward, and they make him feel awkward and out of place.
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, he does admit that to Wesley Crusher. Crusher's like, yeah, when it comes to women, I have everything under control. And Picard's like, wow, I have always had a difficult problem with that.
Yeah.
I can relate to Picard.
And the thing is, we get those are really strong moments that we get out of Picard. We also get the same thing from Sisko when he's talking about Jake, or when he's in some type of dilemma, especially when we get to see him later on with his father. You get a lot of things that humanize him. With Janeway, there's always something at a distance. Like the one thing I can tell you about Janeway, she loves her coffee.
Yes.
That's about it. She was a former science officer, but she loves her coffee. And it's like, that's not enough to really, allow you to, define the character and have people understand and recognize who it is that you're defining.
Well, I mean, you also have that she's a person who loves the fantasy of exploration, of the, she respects and loves the rules like Picard does, but she fantasizes about being in the time period of Kirk when there were less rules and it was more cowboy space type situations.
Well, that was in one episode, the 40th anniversary episode, I think. That's where you get the Tuvok flashback of his time on the Excelsior with Sulu.
No, there's that, but she mentions it in multiple times. She also talks about when she does that thing where she flashbacks where she's learning about one of her ancestors.
Oh, the Millennium Gate thing. Yeah.
Yep.
What's happening in this scene, just so we don't lose our train of thought here?
Oh, the Caretaker's array is increasing its power to the planet, and then now sealing all the possible entrances to the surface from the Ocampa, so that to keep them.
And so now they can't beam out the way they came in because it has been the gap has been blocked.
Right.
I see.
And then we get this one thing where it's like, you got to crawl through this force field gap.
They show some of the characters do it, and then the other characters are bigger, and I'm like, I don't think they could have done that.
Yeah.
I don't see Neelix squeezing through that thing.
No.
Yeah.
And then Tom Paris decides to go back for Chakotay, who's broke his leg. And then they spend about 6 minutes, on that stairway bickering before they pull him out.
Because initially he hated him, right?
Oh yeah, Chakotay
Oh yeah,
hates
he
Paris
continues
for
to not like him, but it is a good thing. Like they've built up how much Tom Paris is the disliked character, and in a lot of ways, he kind of becomes the heart center of the crew as time goes on. Like from the fandom, the Doctor becomes the center of the show in 7 of 9, but like for the crew, I feel like Tom Paris is the glue that holds them all together in their
he's on a
networks of
redemption arc.
printers.
Yeah, like he's on a redemption arc, and by the time he ends up falling in love with B'Elanna and they get married, he's solidified himself that Voyager is his home, and he is content with living out the rest of his life there with B'Elanna on that ship. He does not care about getting back to Earth. And at that point, too, B'Elanna is also not thinking about getting back to Earth either, getting back to the Alpha Quadrant. It's completely not a priority. It's only really a priority for like Harry Kim and Janeway. Everybody else is kind of like, no, we got a good deal going on.
Well, and Tuvok.
Well, yeah, they bring in something very last minute for Tuvok when it comes to the urgency of getting him back home.
Yeah, but they make it so that the relationships that won't revolve around him. I feel like Harry Kim. I kind of joked. I really like Garrett Wang, the actor, and his character isn't bad, but they don't do a lot interesting with him. But most of the stuff he is, he's Tom's sidekick, and
the butt of torture for Janeway.
Yeah, and so by that, like, he's in a lot of stuff. That's how I feel about Bashir. I don't really like the character of Bashir that much, but I really like O'Brien, and so by extension, I like Bashir as he supports O'Brien and has that comedy of like the bro romance and asking the wife, can we go down and play some more in the holodeck, or just that kind of relationship. And I feel like Tom and Harry have that kind of relationship, and in that way it makes Harry thing.
Why did they move Harry Kim away from B'Elanna? Why does Harry never get her?
It wasn't working, and the two actors just didn't have a romantic chemistry. Because it was all done before they got the actors kind of really together to see how the dynamic was being played. Because it was all written in the script that we're kind of setting up that the Klingon is and the Ensign are going to be kind of an item, but it just did not play out as the story progressed. The other part too is go ahead.
Maybe you were about to bring this up, but also when it was the previous actress, when they had the lady who was more, I think she had done movies, but she was younger, and so her and Tom were originally written to be developing a romance, which I think would have been a really bad idea with Tom being the outlaw type character and the captain.
He was supposed to have a relationship with Janeway?
Yes, when it was the different actress and they were closer in age.
Yeah.
That's weird, yeah.
And hey Price, did you go and watch the shoots with the other captain?
I did. I've seen a little clip of it from not now. I think a long time ago.
She has so low energy. I mean, you guys have been talking about Janeway, but I really think that if she had been, that the show would have been dead on arrival. Oh
yeah, definitely. Because again, listen, one of the things that Kate Mulgrew does is she definitely does not phone in her performance.
No, she doesn't.
It's nothing of anything on her part. It's really just they come up with these stories, and then they use Captain Janeway as a character that just fills in the blank to facilitate the story, as opposed to writing a story that the character helps drive. And that's the big falling with the character like Janeway and with the number of the other number of characters on the show.
I want to clarify. I really think that Kate Mulgrew is a good actress. It's the one thing I want to make sure that the point that I get across here. Maybe if the captain was written better, but I don't know. She doesn't win me over as the captain. You could say, Nick, that you didn't like all those other captains when you first saw them or maybe you still don't like them, but I thought that all of them were better than her and more defined, as script says. She's just kind of there. Not that the actress doesn't have the capability to do more. She just doesn't really know what to do because she's not given enough to work with. That's what I think. But don't want to dwell on that anymore.
I like the other captains. I didn't at first. I mean, it took a while for me to warm up to them, but I mean,
what's happening here? Remind me. Well, now they're back here.
They've miraculously cured B'Elanna and Kim of whatever the ailment the caretaker gave to them. We don't know how it was cured. We don't know what exactly it was or how it was terminal. It was just completely skipped over. Doctor cures them. Now they're back at their stations and fighting off the Kazon, who are going to try and take over the array. And Janeway, without consulting anyone on her crew, says, we're going to destroy this with the tri-cobalt devices.
I mean, this is the thing, that she wants to destroy this thing. Is this the part where basically they're talking about the Prime Directive and she's like, we're already involved, we have to do this, and her decision is basically that these guys never return. She's affecting the lives of everybody here, that they never return home because she decided that she wanted to help these Ocampas or whatever,
well,
right?
The thing is, the caretaker already started a self-destruct sequence for the array. And Janeway was trying to convince the caretaker to send them home before the array gets blown up. He refuses to do it for reasons. And then in the battle, the Kazon destroy the section of the array that controls the self-destruction. Now the array is not going to be destroyed. And the caretaker, in his ramblings, talking about how only his offspring would understand the responsibility of taking care of the Ocampa, dies. And to demonstrate how poorly written this is the entire theme of dependency is never really explored in this pilot. The concept of what dependency is, because they did an episode of Star Trek that talked about it called The Apple. And that is where this entire society goes to Vol and, gives it food, keeps it alive, and it controls their species. And Kirk decides to disrupt that because Vol is actually compromising his ship. And in this case here, we have a perfect opportunity to echo some of that, especially when it comes to talking to the Ocampa and sharing with them that, hey, your caretaker is gone, which means you have to grow up on your own. And this is not a message that's ever conveyed to the Ocampa. They're completely divorced from this message as Janeway is making the argument to the caretaker. Therefore, it completely defeats the moral of what this episode should have. And the caretaker just shrivels up into a tiny little gelatinous mound. And Janeway returns to Voyager and makes the unilateral decision to destroy the array. And then set a course for home.
She makes the decision to destroy it before she returns to Voyager. And I would say that if she had pulled a Picard and had them all go into the reading room and discuss the pros and cons, that's something I didn't like when that was happening. I like that she has to make a judgment call like Kirk would. And I think it's more than just the Ocampa that's at stake here, though, because it's more about the Kazon not getting this technology. His technology in the array is even beyond what Voyager has.
Mm-hmm.
So if that falls into the Kazon's hands, you have this tribal warlike race, somebody like the Klingons or something, suddenly becoming way more advanced. That's part of why the Prime Directive was originally put into place, is because these lesser civilizations shouldn't be getting this advanced technology and disrupting the flow of things.
No, there's no argument against that, because it's very true. Like the Kazon getting a hold of the array for the first time in their existence would be detrimental to this area of space. The matter being is that it's not like Janeway has to gather everyone in the conference room. It's just talking about it on the bridge. Is like, okay, crunch time. We have to destroy this thing. Do you guys understand that we are going to be trapped here? And if you don't agree, we can discuss it, but clock's ticking, because right now we've got a fleet of Kazon ships descending upon us, and there's not much we can do as a single starship.
I think they should have left. They should have just said, screw it, and just left all those weirdos there and gone back home to crack.
Well, but they didn't have time to learn how to go back home.
To do that. Tuvok said that he could access the program. It would take several hours to do so, which is really that's a contrived way for the writers to kind of force the certain outcome.
Force the situation. Yeah, it was very, very strange.
Again,
I mean,
remember, they're operating on the premise that this is a show about a lone Starfleet crew trapped on the other side of the galaxy with no support structure. And this, unfortunately, was the best that they could do to get them there.
I feel like I wish there was a better way to do it. I don't love the way that they did it. It kind of feels crappy, but it's okay. Because if I had a choice, like based on this specific situation, I would leave all these weirdos here to do whatever they do, and I would be back home in time for dinner.
But they don't have the ability to do that, Bryce. Because the Kazon are going to be able to overtake them before they're going to be able to operate the array. So that's the issue.
Exactly.
Is that
operate the array, at least in the way that they need to. That we didn't even get a chance of Tuvok exploring, like, does the array have defensive weapons? If so, can we do something about that to ward off the Kazon? Buy us some time, help us regroup or figure out what to do. We have no real options were explored to show us the difficulty that Voyager was really in overall. It was really just a very narrow perspective of, this is the array. It's going to self-destruct. It's the only thing that can send us home, and we can't do that with the Kazon barreling down on our throats, and no other options are really explored to show how difficult the situation was. It was really just kind of get to the resolution as quickly as possible, critical thinking be damned.
And they do have a little bit of back and forth, because you have B'Elanna says, who gives her the right to make this decision?
And then Chakotay automatically agrees, and tells her.
Which, one of the things that I know some people is it like,
is that the part that he goes, she's the captain? Is that when he's? Oh, yeah, right.
Chakotay was a Starfleet officer.
Yep.
He defected to the to the Maquis. So,
yeah.
Not out of protest to
principle.
Starfleet. Yeah, he did it on principle. He didn't did a protest to Starfleet or any type of selfish reasons. It was the fact that, I'll put it to you this way. An authority figure deemed that his planet no longer belonged to him and was part of the Cardassian Union. And he didn't like that. And now he's in a situation where an authority figure is controlling his fate, and now he's accepting of it.
Yeah, so he's
I mean, it's a little hypocritical.
It is, but it shows that he still values Starfleet. He's a little. They explored a little, and he's probably the only character last week that we didn't really discuss or talk about. And which is interesting because I actually I do work for his nephew. And he always asks if,
For whose
Beltran.
nephew? Who?
Beltran.
Okay.
Chakotay. And he always asks for a discount because he's Chakotay's nephew.
Oh, does he get one?
No.
Okay.
But it's interesting, he's a character that I feel he's stronger in the earlier seasons and becomes less and less present as the show goes on. And, Script was talking earlier about, how he gave a lot of pushback, but he got a reputation of being difficult to work with. So the writers would write less for him.
That's right.
Really? He was difficult?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Well, again, because they would come up with some sort of Native American thing to give to Chakotay to do, and Beltran would read it over and be like, this is ridiculous and kind of insulting. He would then tell the writers, then also the executive producer, and then the writers would have to throw out that idea, which meant that they have to go back and rework the script. And as a result, they would say, well, we'll just use less of Chakotay, but still kind of keep him on set for 12 hours a day, every day. So
and
that was their way to show the fact that they didn't like how he was treating their work. And it also shows the lack of professionalism from the writers to learn anything from what the actor was saying when it came to certain decisions about culture and his character.
Yeah. So towards the end of the show, I mean, he's the first officer, but he would probably be bottom as far as screen time and development.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it took years for him to really get any type of real development going on, because he gets some things for the first couple seasons, a little bit about him and his relationship to his Maquis crew, what's going on, and then
once the
it wasn't
Maquis
towards
fade
the
into the
end.
background,
Yeah,
he's
then
kind
he
of
was
out.
very much in the background, and then he had a couple then he had that boxing episode, which was stupid.
I'm trying to understand what Professor is saying here. It was ridiculous and insulting because the cultural advisor was
Was
Jamake.
Jamake Highwater who a fraud and not a native? Yeah, he wasn't the real
No.
native.
Beltran is also not a Native American, but
well, no, he's got some Mexican ancestry that bleeds over,
Right.
but it's not the same. Yeah.
So wait, he insisted that they be accurate with Native Americans, but he wasn't a Native American?
Because of that. Like, if he's playing a character who's going to have Native American ancestry and they're going to give him Native American traditions, he would like those to be authentic if he's playing that. Doesn't matter that he is as a person is 100% Native or not. It's the fact that he's playing that character and he doesn't want to be an inauthentic representative of that.
Who's Jamake Highwater, though?
He was one of the cultural advisors that was hired by the Star Trek Voyager specifically for this character.
And seeing what they
he was
did
like
with this
Rachel
character
Dolezal. He was like Rachel Dolezal.
Kind of like a Rachel Dolezal, yes.
Okay.
A white woman who identified as
but like seeing the stuff that actually got through, I can't imagine how egregious that the stuff that didn't get through. Because like they get to a point where they basically have technology peyote that puts them on Vision Quest.
I know. God. Well, I mean, that one, I remember hearing stories of how big that was protested for, and basically threats of contract termination were made. And Robert was like, okay, I'll freaking do it for professionalism, but this is stupid. And that's the case there, man. It's
interesting. I wasn't aware of all this drama.
Yes, and the drama kind of extended to some of the crew. Not all the actors like him either. So
this is where Janeway tries to convince him, but he's a douche, right?
Yeah, he's just he's like, I kidnapped all these species and I'm gonna leave them here and to hell with them because I care about the Ocampa.
Yeah. The caretaker is not a good person.
He's
no, he isn't. What's this blob? Remind me.
That's the caretaker.
Oh,
the old man was a holographic illusion hiding.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, that whole world was. So he was just appearing to them.
And this is the part where she's just like, "Oh, well."
Then they blew it up, and now they're stuck on this ship.
And now she tells him, "This is the only part of the episode that I kind of like." That she said, "Well, you're going to be made." She gives him a role, right? She gives him.
She had a senior helms officer with a field rank of lieutenant. The irony is that over the course of the series, she demotes him to ensign and then re-promotes him back to lieutenant, and poor Ensign Kim stays an ensign the entire series.
Oh yeah.
Well, I like is she said, your father would really enjoy seeing this, but he never will, or something like that. I like that. This conversation here is probably the highlight of the episode for me.
And I like Paris's, he'll know.
How would
one way or another, he's going to find out.
Yeah. And that's where these two beg for passage, because I mean they're begging it, but they're doing it in such a way of like, we could be of value to you.
We could be guides. Yeah, he could be a tour guide. I don't know what he was saying.
Neelix, I mean, they're trying to make Neelix's character a little bit of Quark.
They're going total Quark with it.
Yeah. He's meant to be that character, and it grates on a lot of people. A lot of people really hate him. I don't love him. I don't love everything they do with him, but I don't hate him. I feel like his relationship with Tuvok is, well, it's less present. It gives me reminiscence of like Odo and Quark. And that he's obsessed with like he's this happy, jovial character that just cannot understand Vulcans, and it infuriates him that Tuvok doesn't have emotions, and he's like bent. He's gonna make Tuvok laugh. He's gonna make him dance,
or some. Yeah, he's gonna try and get some type of positive emotion out of Tuvok, and I don't think he ever does.
Yes, no, he does. When he leaves, in the final season when he leaves the ship.
Oh, the second to last episode, right? Yeah.
Yes. Tuvok steps out and he says, "Mr. Neelix," and he does a 2-step with his foot, like the most emotionless little dance move, and it like brings Neelix to tears. It's, but to me, like stuff like that. But and I like the stuff with Neelix and Naomi Wildman, who is a character that is born on the ship,
and ages incredibly fast.
Well, they also, and that's one of the things about this show is that time is passing between every episode. I mean, that's true of all the shows.
But it's still 7 years, yeah.
You know, so we're seeing that in a lot of the like destruction of the ship. I get that when we were talking before about all the things that the show could have been, it could have been more Battlestar Galactica. And while you could say that all those things could be better, so I judge Voyager on what was there, not what could have been. And in that, I enjoy it, and I enjoy it more than some of the other shows. So that's why I like it. Yes, some of those things, you know, if there was consistency of the ship breaking down and doing it, they do some episodes where they talk about that, but you're right, it doesn't happen that often. But you also don't rarely get a ship of the Enterprise D getting repaired or anything like that, even though, you know, it's more plausible that they have stardates and stuff like that. But sometimes they say that they haven't gone back in years. So, you know,
yeah, the closest we get for the next gen is like the Barium Sweep, the episode, or when they're in dry dock after the Best of Both Worlds. Yeah, like
until the movies when the ship practically gets destroyed every movie and has to be rebuilt or repaired.
Yeah, that's something that only happened in the next.
He gets a Starfleet uniform, right?
Yeah, got the Starfleet uniform, and then the collar tags that clearly distinguish them from Starfleet officers versus Maquis officers, so you can tell which is which. So there's even a tier structure still, even though there is a regular authority structure of ship operations.
And what B'Elanna, what did she get anything different? What did she get?
She's assigned to engineering, but it's not until I think the next couple episodes where
the next episode is all about her becoming chief engineer, and basically the Chakotay wants her, Janeway wants somebody else. She breaks the nose of the person that Janeway wants, and so Janeway is against her, and then when they have a thing that they come up against, she's the one that comes up with the solution and impresses Janeway, and they bond. And
yeah, they bond, and then she gets the job. She essentially gets the job because of proximity. I really would have liked more interaction with the other guy, because he's a day player that recurs on the show for 7 seasons until they tragically kill him off in the last season.
But I do like the fact that they show that he's a Starfleet officer, so he handles himself with dignity when she's appointed.
Oh yeah,
and he tells her, "You'll only get my best."
Oh no, there's absolute maturity there. I just think it would have been more interesting to see a dynamic where Janeway is spending not necessarily equal time, but significant time with each of them to better assess I'm
trying to remember, when does the other Vulcan come in?
Is Neelix irritating?
I think it's the one before the Ponfar episode, right?
Yeah. Well, no, he existed before that, but that's really when he became.
Yeah.
Hold that thought. I just want to say it because if we didn't, I wanted to read this. Neelix is irritating. I cheered when Tuvok choked him out on the holodeck.
I mean, like I said, most people found him irritating. I definitely found him irritating in the initial seasons, but grew to like him later in the show. The whole him being jealous with Kes thing was, I wanted to punch him out a couple of times.
All I know is that this show has not won me over. And the pilot, even after watching all of Starfleet Academy, I thought I'm going to watch this pilot now and just be in love with it because I watched such garbage. So sure, this is still much, 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 much better than anything from modern Trek. It's still Star Trek. It's just that, I don't know, pilot didn't win me over.
I wanted to address one other thing from last week. And not everybody's there, but Script it was mainly him and Professor R2 talking about the difference between the Doctor and Data, and I gave a lot of thought to that.
Data
and
is better.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the emergence thing. Data positronic brain is not incapable of emotions.
That's right.
And he doesn't have to evolve. It is a programming issue. He specifically was blocked from having them because of his older brother and the results of that. So his father
the
blocked
block
him.
is a temporary one because there's aspects what Data would have to achieve to unlock those naturally. Like that's what's the parameters, and that's what we learned from Dr. Soon.
But in TNG, you have twice where the computer creates something that's sentient, because you have the ship gain sentience in an episode, and then you have Moriarty.
Yep.
Who gains, so the computer is capable of that. And this show actually because this is not the only character that gains sentience in this show. You have the people of the tavern become to have a level of sentience, and they even go through a section of space where they basically had their version of the Terminator, but with holograms, and so holograms are illegal, and they have to hide the Doctor. But a lot of it they do explore, and even the Doctor brings it up, and they have a kind of a thing about that, about Starfleet doesn't recognize them. And I also feel like him having all those emotions, every holodeck character displays emotions. It's determining when in the show do they actually become real, or what do you define real and what is simulation. That is something that you can debate with the Doctor about whether he's having real emotions or simulated emotions. And he tinkers with his program initially, and he has repercussions for it. But initially, he starts messing around with his program because he feels now that he's on, he has to improve his bedside manner. So he's adding all these other algorithms from other holodeck programs to himself. And that's part of what sets off the chain of him becoming the character he has. So Data never does that. He doesn't, except for the chip that he gets from his father that provides him with emotions, Data is very wary of messing with it because it is a hardware thing. He tries to get there, I would say, a much more natural way.
Yes, that is his goal. Yep.
So to me, I don't feel like the Doctor is like skipping over or minimizing Data's pathway, because we've seen this with other holograms. It's more whether or not the Doctor is actually getting recognized as being more, because really what separates a lot of the holograms from somebody who's actually sentient is they have no idea that they're a hologram. That they are, everything is a pre-done. They're
But he
playing
knows
a
he's a
caricature.
hologram. He knows he's
The
a hologram.
Doctor's programmed with full knowledge that he was a hologram. Yes.
Yes.
And in his mind, they mentioned that he's had for his personality that they scanned his creators, brainwaves, and basically mapped off of that.
Yeah, it's mapped off of Dr. Zimmerman's, and then all the personal logs of some of the most prestigious medics, doctors in Starfleet history and Federation have been kind of blended into his matrix.
Well, now he has a daughter, the Doctor, if you watch New Trek.
So I don't. What's funny is the only thing I've seen of Academy is Price's reviews, and it's funny when they bring up when he says, "Oh, remember Voyager?" Yeah, I remember. Whenever you have one of those moments, I'm like, and you describe what's going on, it's completely counter to whatever episode they're referencing of Voyager.
Their references to Voyager are very poorly done.
I mean, even the
a
episode
lot of problems to it as it comes to being a Star Trek brand. If you were to remove the brand of Star Trek from it, it would still be pretty silly on the scientific level, but the character work would be more tolerable to a point, because there's a certain tone of Star Trek that says that the characters in this position that have earned this position do not act or behave the way that these characters are acting and behaving.
It is one of the biggest disasters I've ever seen. Nick, at least I hope that you enjoyed my reviews, if nothing else.
I mean, yeah, I watch them to support you, but I am of the, and I've taken that stance with Discovery, stuff like that. I've reached a point where I don't feel the need that I need to know this stuff because it does
You
not.
still watch them, so hopefully it amuses you to some extent.
Oh,
Is there humor?
Your videos are funny. You do a good job, but like, it's just one of those things that this stuff isn't Star Trek.
No,
is
it's
not.
It's
not.
Star Trek in name only. Like even the J.J. Abrams stuff had a veneer, or
I
like I
hate to
haven't
say
watched it, but
I hate to say it, but you're right, Nick. As bad and as stupid as J.J. Abrams is and was, Kurtzman Trek makes like J.J. Abrams looks like, like a Shakespearean production of Star Trek compared to whatever
Almost.
Kurtzman is doing.
Kurtzman actually ripped off 09 with a gimmick that they used in the season finale.
I don't. Which one? What I didn't realize. What did he rip off from aside from lens
Warping
flares?
into a gas giant to hide from the enemy sensors. That is what is literally done in Star Trek 09. They warp into Jupiter so that the Narada can't detect them when they're trying to beam onto the ship to stop them from attacking Earth. And then what they do in this one, they warp into a gas giant so they can hack a network of space mines.
it's now I just admitted I haven't seen things and I haven't seen Prodigy, but in my opinion, and this is ridiculous to say, but out of all of Kurtzman Trek, I think Lower Decks has probably been the best he's produced.
Yeah, that and Prodigy are probably the two that are the better qualities. The advantage with Lower Decks is the fact that it's very much aware that it's a parody, but it's a loving inside joke parody of Star Trek.
But you know what? When you watch Lower Decks, there's a ton of references. If it was, I compare Lower Decks to watching something like Family Guy Star Wars specials.
Yep.
And if they weren't trying to make it canon, I think I could enjoy it. When they tried to make that canon to the rest of the world, but if it was another company doing a parody of Star Trek, I think I would have been totally on board. But the fact that they tried to say, well, this is actual Star Trek events is when it gets me. But at least the writers on that, when they come up on a stage and say, we really love Star Trek, I believe them, because you'd have to love Star Trek to have all those references for those jokes.
Not just the references for the jokes. They bring back day players from the next generation and show them in higher ranking positions throughout the Starfleet. They really go deep and inside. The thing is that it's the ragtag crew that, for all intents and purposes, would never actually be part of Starfleet given their behavior. But that's the joke that the show is functioning on. I do think it was a bad call to try and assume that it would be canon, but then again, it's part of the Star Trek in name only situation, so it does not really count. Star Trek ended in 2005.
I agree with Professor R2 that he's saying it's like Chakotay saying "Yo Dog" and Balana hip hop dancing. Like there's something not timeless about what Kurtzman Trek is doing. For him to try to act like TikTokers in 2026 is so stupid and pandering, and it really doesn't understand what Star Trek is. Like it is a complete middle finger to anybody that actually likes Star Trek, in my opinion. Ron Donofero with a super chat for $5. Thank you, Ron. Ron Donofero, again, friend of the channel. The Abrams stars are defecting to Disney to do Star Wars. Not that that's helping them much. Disney and Star Wars is equivalent to, Star Trek Kurtzman, I guess.
Hey, man, David Ellison helping co-finance Star Trek 09 with J.J. Abrams is how he was able to get Star Wars.
Oh, it is. Oh man,
Yep.
David Ellison then has a lot
the guy
of.
Who decided,
he brought J.J. Abrams, who brought Kurtzman, and then he brought J.J. Abrams that went to Star Wars. So basically, in one fell swoop, although accidentally, David Ellison accidentally destroyed the entire universe. I know he didn't mean it, but
well, I mean, he David Ellison funds pretty. If you look at his filmography, he is all over the board. I'll put it to you that way. There are some movies that he's funded that are good, and there are some movies he funds that make you scratch your head wondering if he even knew what he was funding.
I see.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to see what happens now. This is his big test. Let's see if he can get it right or he's just going to mess everything up. I don't know. But we're watching it with great interest. I'm like Emperor Palpatine. I guess let's just do a round because I think we pretty much finished this episode. This is already the end.
Everybody's a Starfleet crew now, so get used to it.
And they're like how many are they, like 75,000 years away? What are they?
They're 75,000 light years away from Federation space with a crew of just shy, I think it's 180 is their crew.
Yeah.
Are they hoping that they'll find like wormholes? What are they exactly hoping here?
Looking for anything to try and shorten their trip.
Yeah. So like she gives the speech here that says, I'm going to get you home. We're going to be looking for the caretaker's mate that's out there. We're going to be looking for wormholes and anomalies that can, spatial anomalies that can shorten the distance. A spoiler, I mean, that's how they get home.
Of course, it couldn't be any other way.
Yeah, they basically, so the last leg of the journey, we talked a little bit about this last week, but the last leg of the journey is through Borg space.
Yeah.
So the Borg have the technology to basically make artificial like wormholes. So the way their space travel works, and so they, yeah.
Tribes, yeah.
Yeah, so
Matthew Marcillo says, I love the way they finally get home.
It's and I think I mentioned, and I believe Script did with when I first watched it, I thought it was the most hype amazing thing ever. But I now look at it and I go, it is how if a Star Wars fan wrote the sequel trilogy, how OP Luke would be. He'd be pulling Star Destroyers out of the sky. It was very action packed. It was very amazing. It was very this, but it is very much, it really cripples the Borg. In that way, I feel it's
essentially a way to try to completely eliminate the Borg in one fell swoop. That's just what they were trying to imply.
Yes.
The other part too is that when Kate Mulgrew was negotiating the last part, renegotiating her contracts, he said for the series finale she has to die, and everybody's like, we don't really want to kill your character off because maybe we'll be lucky and get a movie deal, because at this time they're actually still in talks with Deep Space Nine team to see if they'd do a movie because they were unsure. And so they really wanted to keep that door open. And Kate Mulgrew says, no. After the 7 years of getting her crew home, she has to kind of, sacrifice herself in order to do so. And that's when they had to come up with the whole time travel thing and the two Janeways.
and so Price, since you don't know this, in Picard season 3, when you see the Borg and they're all in that state,
right?
Janeway did that to them.
Yep.
Future Janeway goes back in time with future technology to save Voyager and take down the Borg.
I see.
Yeah,
so I'm not worried about spoiling you because I have a feeling you're never going to watch through this whole stuff.
Never going to get there. Maybe you love it so much. I'll try to watch it. It's so many episodes. How am I ever going to do this, Nick?
Yeah.
I watched the first season. I watched the entire first season.
You should just start at the episode where Kes leaves and 7 of 9 comes on.
All right. Maybe I'll do that.
That's like the season 3 ender, season 4 beginner.
It's called like Scorpion, right?
Yeah, and it has a very interesting story. It is a very good thing, but like if later you want to go back and see the early seasons and see where these characters built it, but I really feel like that is it's giving the Doctor the mobile emitter. Basically, the Delta Flyer is a ship they built that's kind of like the runabouts on DS9.
Yeah.
So it gives them a lot more. It's kind of like their own X-wing. Like they go on space battles and stuff with it. And so you have that. You get rid of Kes. You bring on 7, and her character has a much more interesting development than the development they were doing with Kes.
Yeah, one of the things I did like the idea of 709. I was very disappointed with how Star Trek Picard treated her because she was on the
Yes.
journey. Because again, 709 had her identity stolen, was turned into a Borg, and now she was on a journey of reclaiming her humanity. And the logical conclusion of that is that she drops the 7 of 9 name and calls herself Annika Hansen because that's who she really is deep down. That's what she was. That was what was stolen from her. And in Picard season 3, they make her still 7 of 9. And she's like, that's my name. It's like, that's
They
holding on to the
changed her,
indoctrination that that enslaved you.
they changed her orientation. And then the other thing is the way her character develops.
She
Even
likes
though
women. She doesn't like dudes.
No, she don't.
well, in the
she
show,
likes women,
all she
but
does is like
the thing
No,
is,
but in
she
Kurtzman
doesn't
Trek,
hate
she
dudes.
didn't like dudes anymore.
No. She doesn't hate dudes. It's just that she fell in love with a woman. It's different.
So such a coincidence that Kurtzman came along
But-
and she fell in love with a woman. Ron D'Onofrio, I love Janeway's ship in the finale, and
Well,
he also said that he thought that 7 of 9 was hot. I
7 of
like
9 was
Scorpion,
really
though I didn't
attractive.
like the ending. I don't know. Okay, never
Well,
mind.
here's the sad fact. So the 7 of 9 and her liking women was not actually a Kurtzman or a showrunner idea from Star Trek Picard. There was this montage scene at the end of the first season, and Jerry Ryan just decided to hold the hands of the character of Raffi at the end, just to see what would happen. And it made it to cut, and then that's when the showrunner's like, okay, yeah, let's explore them in a relationship for season 2. And that was it. It was not any type of methodical idea or anything of that nature. It was just, this is what they decided to do. But again, it defeats the purpose because 7 and 9 in that series has played way more human than she's ever been played for before, but she still holds on to the 7 of 9 name. That it just doesn't make sense.
The other thing is, even when she adapts to life in Starfleet, she clings on to the fact that Starfleet has a sense of order, a sense of rules. She's very much takes comfort in that. So showing her in Picard as like this rebel ranger type character that's it feels so out of place to her character.
Yeah, it's not consistent at all with what the trajectory she was going as she was embracing her emotions, becoming more human, going through essentially all the milestones that a child would have to go through to get to an adulthood, but stuck being as an adult because her childhood was replaced with being a drone. She was cold and calculating. Now she's rediscovering her humanity. She's kind of playing catch up with all the emotional needs that she has to fulfill. And by the end of it, she's exploring dating and romance for the first time and ends up falling in love with Chakotay. And the other part too is that in some cases, especially when she was in Unimatrix Zero, she wasn't 7 of 9. They called her Annika there. Because that's who she is. And it's like even Terry Metalis, who's a big Uber fan of Star Trek Picard, you can tell that his love and fandom of the series impeded his ability to tell the best stories he could, because there was a lot of references, a lot of homages, some good speeches, but also, some things that were too on the nose referential. And yeah, it was definitely the superior of the 3 seasons, but it was still missing something. I hated that they used the Borg as the antagonist because it's so overused. I would have loved it. They brought back Denise Crosby and her Sela character, because there's a great way where you could have tethered all 3 seasons into that as like this massive Romulan counterinsurgence plot to destroy the Federation after they lost their homeworld, which would be a very Romulan thing to do. And Denise Crosby was available. She just finished directing a project, and her schedule was open, and nobody decided to ask her to come back to play, the antagonist for Picard season 3. They decided to go with the Borg again, and the Borg has become boring partly because of Voyager.
I got a compliment from Michelle Ferry before, and I just want to dwell on it. New Trek is terrible TV. I really enjoy watching Price of Reason take on his Academy better than the show. They like the paycheck, not the show itself. Thank you, Michelle.
And I would say once again, though, that is a case of, you're right. There's all the sorts of things they could have done, but I'm happy with what we got.
It was satisfying. I don't dispute that at all. Yeah.
I will say that we're running a bit short on time, so at this point, we'll do our goodbyes. I see that Mer Rockstra helped because Mary White's not here today. Shout out to Mary White and to Mer Rockstra, who did the shout outs. Rhonda Nefero, Julie Evans, Matthew McGee, Kit Kat, Matthew Marcillo, James Caserta, FKHC 2005, Georges L. Rex, Unturned Stone, Whalem03, Marla Sherendorf, Professor R2, Sturgun, Storm King, A Lord Corey, Whalem03, Michelle Fairy Tales, Tomahawk 511, Phantom Outsider, Lasher, and then I think there was a third one. Maybe this was it. The panel, Nick, Backyard Tarders, Script Doctor Price. Guys, you talk about your sentiments for a second. I'll try to just put the links to your channels here just so everybody has them in the meantime. So, Script, how would you sum up Voyager pilot?
Voyager pilot, good effort, but it really is lacking the overall theme of what an episode should be when you're not just with the pilot, but for a show itself. By comparison, we had the stakes and understanding of humanity in the course by way of Encounter at Farpoint. With Emissary and Cisco, we understood that he was living in the tragedy of losing his wife and not really seeing the opportunities and coping and coming to terms with that going forward and why that's important. There's nothing of parallel to that with Janeway, sadly, or any of the characters in this presented this pilot. It was really just and then this happens series of events. Tuvok is missing, and then they have to go find a pilot to help navigate the Badlands, and then they go onto the ship, and then they go to Deep Space Nine, and then they get whisked away to the Delta Quadrant, and then they encounter the caretaker, and then they lose two of their crew members, and then they got to go find them, and then they find them, and then they get back, and then the Kazon attack, and then they destroy the thing, and now they're stuck here. It's really not as cause and effect as it would be, and then on top of that, we're not really getting any real depths of what this captain character is. Like, we assume this is her very first command. It appears that is the case.
No, she's years into command.
That as a captain of her full ship. Like, what was the ship she served on before Voyager as a captain?
This isn't her first mission with Voyager.
No, I'm talking about prior to Voyager, because it's a new ship. It's still a new ship. What was her first command as captain prior to being on Voyager?
But this isn't Voyager is a newer ship, but Voyager is not brand new. This isn't Voyager's first mission.
I didn't say that. I said this is her first command. Her first command means taking over Voyager. Doesn't mean that we're seeing the very first day she gets on board. It means that this is her first command. Just like the Enterprise is Picard's second command, his first one was the Stargazer.
Right. I'm not saying she had a command before, but
we don't have a lot of time, though, so I think we should focus here.
Well, you're so concerned about dropping those links, man.
just
ended the show.
No. I mean, the thing is, just a few sentences of what you felt about Voyager, just so we can kind of wrap it up.
It missed the target, but it's still very much Star Trek.
Okay,
I agree. It's Star Trek. A lot of the pilots. It has its flaws. They're still finding their way, but I really liked it.
Well, I don't hate it, but I have to watch like more than the first season, and somehow this show out of all of them spoke to me the least out of all the classic Trek shows. Maybe I didn't give it a fair enough chance, and maybe I have to watch more of it. But first season, yes, some of the other shows had rocky first seasons, but none of them felt to me more like sort of all over the place than this one. And I guess that's why I never fully connected with it. I will try. Maybe one day I'll watch everything and I'll go back and say, Nick, you were right. But I honestly, I watched this pilot.
I don't expect you to think this is the best one, Price. But I also think that if you watch the later seasons, you'd enjoy it and you'd have an appreciation for it.
Maybe I should do that when I can. We're gonna head out now because there's the other stream. If people want to hang out and talk about Starfleet Academy, that's what we're gonna do in this stream with Professor R2, the Night Owl, that starts pretty much right now. So I'm gonna have this stream go into that stream. It'll like redirect to that one. And of course, subscribe to Script Doctor and to Backyard TARDIS. And thank you so much, Script and Nick, for hanging out with me as always. And we'll see you all here next week as we do Enterprise. We are going over Enterprise next week, the first episode. So it's the season 1, episode 1 pilot of Enterprise next week on TV Shows Revisited. And right now it's going to go to the Night Owl with Starfleet Academy.
All right.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
I'm such an awesome guy. I make so many videos. And my friends are awesome too. They make so many videos. I'm such an awesome guy. From